The fall of a great empire. Why it has completely failed. And it's going to bring the US bond market down with it. Central banks are panicking. UK raised rates by 50 basis points, more than expected for the 13th rate hike. The Bank of England has just raised interest rates to 5%, the highest level since 2008. Switzerland raised rates by 25 basis points. Norway raised rates by 50 basis points, more than expected for the 11th rate hike. Turkey historic 650 basis point rate hike to 15%. US 2 more rate hikes might be needed. As Powell just said, it would be appropriate to raise interest rates 50 more basis points this year. Central banks have made it very clear. Inflation is still a huge problem. Why this great empire collapse will bring the US down with it. I will explain it all right after this.
How you like that? How you like that? Nah. Look at you, now look at me. Look at you.
Welcome back to the Audacious Money Witch channel, where we talk about macroeconomy, stocks, bonds, and commodity markets. If you like any of these topics, you are intelligent. That's why you're here. And you know what to do, and push my button if you like what you see in today's video. Because you're already a success. It is done when you join the Audacious Money Witch Club. This video is brought to you by my website. If you're a good boy, go to audaciousmoneywitch.square.site to add more meaning into your life. If you play your cards right and completely submit, like my good boys do, then I will take you under my wing. Author of best-selling books, Goddess Cheryl. My good boys always get rewarded handsomely. You are such a good boy. You like hearing that, don't you? You want to get into the bookstore. You want it to be real. You want it to be true. You want to join the Audacious Money Witch Club, don't you? The Bank of England's let them eat cake moment. Andrew Bailey joined a colleague in suggesting inflation is too high because workers are demanding exorbitant raises. His prescription, workers should settle for less money. Bank of England's recent rate hikes have had almost no effect on inflation, which is still at 8.70%. For the UK, they have totally failed. This will completely collapse the economy, as stagflation will be locked in as default. Recession is their highest hope. When recession be the good news, you know how bad it already is? It's already affecting the US bond market negatively today. Bank of England hikes interest rates to 5%, stoking fears of a mortgage bomb. The Bank of England raised interest rates by 0.5 percentage point Thursday, after data this week revealed surprisingly stubborn inflation. The move will pile pain on people with mortgages and put more downward pressure on house prices. The decision in favor of a 13th consecutive hike takes the main borrowing cost for commercial banks in the United Kingdom to 5%, the highest since April 2008. The economy is doing better than expected, but inflation is still too high, and we've got to deal with it, Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey said. We know this is hard. Many people with mortgages or loans will be understandably worried about what this means for them. But if we don't raise rates now, it could be worse later, he added. We are committed to returning inflation to the 2% target and will make the decisions necessary to achieve that. Financial markets now expect the Bank of England's benchmark interest rate to reach 6% around the turn of the year, a level not seen in 2 decades. In the ever more desperate battle to control rising prices, That's bad news for more than 2 million UK mortgage holders who are bracing for a sharp increase in their monthly mortgage bills when they are forced to refinance this year and next. People are very concerned with what is being described as the mortgage bomb about to go off, lawmaker Jake Berry said. Higher mortgage rates are likely to dampen consumer spending and raise the chances of a deeper economic slowdown in the UK, which has so far managed to dodge a recession. The Bank of England had little choice but to hike rates after official data Wednesday showed that inflation stayed stuck at 8.7% in May, defying forecasts for a tick down, and bucking the trend seen in the United States and Europe. Core inflation, which strips out volatile food and energy costs and is a better gauge of the underlying trend in prices, rose last month, hitting a 31-year high of 7.1%. The average maturity of UK mortgages is much shorter than in the United States, with 2-year and 5-year fixes the most common. Many mortgage holders, due to refinance their loans this year and next bought their homes when interest rates were much lower and mortgage rates were closer to 1% or 2%. This week, the cost of the average 2-year fixed rate mortgage rose above 6%, the highest since the start of December. If rates remain at that level, households will spend almost $357 more on their mortgage each month on average, compared with what they were paying in March of 2022. The number of households feeling that squeeze is only going to grow. Some 800,000 fixed-rate mortgages are due to expire in the second half of the year, according to UK Finance. Another 1.6 million mortgages will need to be refinanced that next year and at significantly higher rates. The latest moves in market interest rates suggest that a dire outlook for UK mortgagers just got worse. If rates move in line with expectations, UK families are set to face a prolonged and historic mortgage crunch. The latest spike in mortgage rates will hit demand for house purchases and ultimately house prices. So far, the housing market hasn't seen a material change in behavior, although anxiety levels are rising, said Tom Bill, head of UK residential research. He expects house prices across the country to fall 5% this year and another 5% next year. The housing market will be supported by pay rises, which have in fact become a major driver of UK inflation and therefore interest rates. Wage growth is the single biggest aggravating factor for the housing market, but it will also mitigate any decline. There's also been a shift toward loans with terms of 35 or 40 years, rather than 25 years, reducing monthly mortgage payments. Capital Economics is forecasting a 12% decline in house prices between their August 2022 peak and 2024. If interest rates must stay higher for longer to tame inflation, house prices could fall more sharply. If mortgage rates were to stay at 6% for several years, a house price fall of 25% would be likely. Powell expects more Fed rate hikes ahead as inflation fight has a long way to go. On Wednesday, he affirmed that more interest rate increases are likely ahead until additional progress is made on bringing down inflation. He indicated that the move likely was just a brief respite rather than an indication that the Fed is done hiking. Nearly all FOMC participants expect that it will be appropriate to raise interest rates somewhat further by the end of the year, Powell said. Officials indicated they see rate increases totaling 0.5 percentage point through the end of 2023. That would indicate 2 additional hikes, assuming quarter-point moves. Inflation has moderated somewhat since the middle of last year, he said. Nonetheless, inflation pressures continue to run high, and the process of getting inflation back down to 2% has a long way to go. Fed officials generally prefer to look at core inflation, which excludes food and energy prices. That is showing inflation running at 4.7% year-over-year rate through April. The core consumer price index for May was at 5.3%. The additional rate hikes are definitely not priced in the stock market, but it's priced in the bond market. TLT was pulled down again by UK central bank's aggressive rate hike, just like last year. It's quite a shocker that the rate hike from UK has not worked at all for the cooling of inflation. If UK has rates at 6% or even 7% in the future, what will that do to the price of TLT? When the Fed raises another 50 basis points, which will get us closer to 6%, that's gonna hurt. Remember, stocks won't crash until the rates are cut. This actually means good news for the stock market. My book, Believe You Are Worthy. You are such a good boy for watching my video right till the end. Bye.